it, look what's back. We were gonna do a BGE block, but it was a little out of the customer's budget area right now for what he wanted to spend on the truck. So we got us a stock 5.7. We're gonna throw a cam in it, gonna put a fuel system on it, put the blower on it, and all the Hellcat accessories, Hellcat valve covers, oil pan, everything else. We're gonna get it installed in this beast. Let's get it. We've been getting the motor busted down, getting the valve train and everything just put away in the box, because we're actually gonna have to reuse all this stuff on the old motor. All this got destroyed and got metal and everything through it. So we're gonna salvage what we can off of the old setup, and then he's got some Hellcat covers to go on. So I got all the head bolts and everything out. I'm gonna go ahead and get those pulled off each side so we can get those over to the machine shop to get the new valve springs and seats and everything installed on both heads. We'll get the oil pan off, front timing cover, all the accessories, get the cam out so we can get the new cam put in, get the new lifters in, and keep putting this thing together. We've been disassembling away, getting everything pulled apart. Got the MDS solenoids out the block, a couple of them broke. So now I'm just getting this green rope that the engine got brought with. Got the green rope off the engine. We're gonna go ahead and get the oil pan removed, get the motor mount brackets removed, get this oil filter housing removed, flywheel, all the accessories, sensors, whatever's on the engine. Gotta get it all off. Engine was still full of oil. Once I start lifting it up, it started leaking all over the ground. I was like, oh no! Got the oil pump off. Let's go ahead and get these motor mount brackets off and the rest of these knock sensors and whatever accessories are on here. We'll get the lifters out, get the cam out, oil pump off. We'll get the rest of the stuff off on this end, and then we just got the flex plate and the metal shim that's destroyed. Got the cam out, got all the accessories off the motor minus the rear main cover. Want to get everything nice and clean, so we got a nice sealing surface all through the coolant passage areas and everything like that. I already started getting this side done over here. Just got a little more to do, just clean up in between these areas and then get everything blown out with air. While I have everything out, it'd be the best to do so. That way, if there's any little small debris or anything, I can get it all out before I assemble and start putting the cam and stuff together. Getting all our parts laid out so we can clean them all up. Got the oil pan already cleaned up real good. We got the pickup tube in from the dealership. And then we got the bolts and the nuts and everything that hold it in place. And then we got the oil pan windage tray gasket for the Hellcat to match this oil pan. And we got a rear main seal for the 5.7 engine. So what we're gonna do right now is get the cam in, get all the timing set, get the oil pump on, the Mellings, probably high flow style pump. Right, we got the cam in the engine. Let's go ahead, get the cam plate put on. We'll get the oil pump and the actuators and everything put on same time with the chain. Out, installed in the phaser already, so we'll go ahead and get this put on the camshaft. Right. Got the timing marks dead on. Straight up in the middle. 12 o'clock. Cylinder 1 piston at top dead center. We'll go ahead and get the oil pump put on. Keep pushing forward. Got some of the sensors on, got the timing cover on. Pickup tube, we need a different main cap with a stud that goes through. So I just got that one ordered in. I can't put the oil pan on yet until then, but we do got the knock sensors on, motor mount brackets in place, rear main cover is on, nice and sealed all the way around the crank. So once we can get the oil pan on, then we'll go ahead, pin the crank. Got all new seals everywhere, got everything all cleaned up from all the dirt and stuff. And then we're still waiting on the lifters to come in. So a little bit of progress, getting it done. We got a new main stud bolt. Since the pickup tube is supposed to bolt to this first one here, we're gonna go ahead and remove that main stud and then get this one torqued into place. That way our pickup tube has something to mount to. All right, we got our new stud torqued down in place. So let's go ahead, we're gonna clean up the area, get the pickup tube put on, and then we'll get the oil pan mounted and get the short block dropped in the truck. I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're definitely gonna try. So we got the pickup tube in. You can see the O-ring is flush on all the sides. Got this locked down with a little bit of thread locker in both. Got both torqued down to spec. The oil pan on. Got the flex plate on. Let's see if it's gonna fit. I don't know. I think it may hit, but we're gonna find out. All right, let's see if it fits. Got the transmission up. Got mostly everything out of my way. Let's go ahead and drop it down in there. I think the oil pan's gonna hit, man. If it is, we'll just put his original one back on and get the engine laid back in the truck. It's not gonna work. It's gonna hit the power steering rack. Right back out it comes. It's not gonna work, I knew it, but just had to see what we can do. We got the ram up on the lift. You see we got the gas tank. We're gonna go ahead, drop the gas tank down so we can get the new fuel system put in. I don't know if this thing is full of gas or not, but we're definitely about to find out. I'm gonna go ahead and get the transmission jack and we'll get it up under here and start dropping it down and taking off all the lines. Let's get it. I'm gonna go ahead and get these 16s out now that we got the transmission jack underneath. Got both straps out. It looks like the front one is a lot smaller than the rear. You can see the tank goes just to that location, and then down there is way longer. So easy way to decipher between the two if you ever get them mixed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and just lower this down just a little bit so I can get some access to the filler neckline and all the other fittings and stuff. I started taking some of them off, but some of them it was hard to access because it's kind of close to the frame. So we'll get everything disattached from the tank and get the tank dropped down. This line goes all the way to the front, so we actually have it on hook over there in the front. Only thing that's still connected is the wiring for the pump. So we'll lower the tank down, unplug that wiring, and drop this thing all the way down to the ground. It's coming down slowly but surely. The tank is out. Go ahead and get this old fuel pump removed. Got the ring off. Before I pop the tank open, I'm just gonna blow all this dirt off so we got nothing, no debris that actually fall in the tank. I got my safety squints on. I don't want to get no damn dirt in my eyes. Hellcat pump out. It's just a stock Hellcat pump that I swapped in here when I first originally did the swap. Got that ram tapped. Double pump setup. Good for over 1,000 horsepower. Got the fuel leveler, tank O-ring, whole wire harness. And then it looks like the factory plug, maybe for the fuel leveler, plugs into here. Nice, nice, nice. So we'll go ahead and get this stuff on bagged and we'll start getting it installed so we can figure out what fittings we need off the top of the tank, because this kit does not come with any fittings or lines. So that we will have to figure that out, as well as the fuel pressure regulator. We'll get like an air motor, because if he ever turns it up in the future, we want to have room. There's a better look outside the package. Damn, this thing is nice. They got it all set up with nice quick disconnects, metal line for the return, straight back into the casket, keep the pump submerged. Nice setup right here. Definitely worth the money. Everything's so nice and clean. Did get the fuel level arm on. Got the new O-ring on. Looks like the locator tab goes there. See how great it fits. Just like that. Woo, look at that. We're gonna run and grab all the lines that we need. We're gonna do a dash 890 here, dash 1090 here. We're gonna run this one straight up to the bottom of the regulator for the return. And then we're gonna run this one through a filter, like a 10 micron, big straight inline filter, and then off the back of the filter, that's gonna run up to the regulator, and then from the regulator, we're going to the rail, only because the fuel rail does not have a return. Now, we got the truck lower back down. This is the line I had running to the back of the supercharger. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this and get most of the stock fuel line out. Since the tank is on this side, we'll run the fuel line pretty much in the same location. And then what I'll more than likely do is just make a line similar to this. Customer wants to do push lock again like we did before. Just picked up all the fittings, the regulator. We got all the hose and ORB filters, whatever we need. Over here at SDHQ, look at their setup. They got a fleet of cars. They even got a Skyline over there. Let's see if we can see it. You can see the front of it right there. Bam. You guys can see it right here. I know my windows are a little dirty. Look at that. Woo! All right, here's all the fittings and stuff laid out. Got our dash 10, dash 8 hose, fuel pressure regulator. These empty boxes over here were actually these fittings because the regulator doesn't come with them. And then we got the two fittings for the fuel filter. We got the mount for the fuel filter, and then got all the fittings to go off the rail and the tank. So let's go ahead and start getting this fuel system knocked out. So it looks like the stock fuel line actually comes to here. So we'll get our tool, get this disconnected off of here, get this little safety clip out. And we'll get that piece removed. Got all the fuel lines out. Let's go ahead and start getting the fuel tank assembled and wired up and get back into the truck. Got the first push lock line put together. Went ahead and just threw a hose clamp on it for extra measures. That way with heat or whatever, the rubber expands with the pressure, it doesn't pop off. But this is the dash 8 return, so we'll get this attached to the tank. We'll throw the dash 10 fitting on and get that on so we can get the tank up in the air. All right. Go ahead. See how this tool works. All right. Loosen it up a little bit. Tighten it down. Back forward. All the way up to the top, just like that. Loosen this up a little bit. Reset it for the next fitting. We'll go ahead and put a clamp on this for extra security, and we'll get this on the top of the fuel hat. We got all the lines running up over the top and coming down. Got the tank back up on the cherry picker. So we're gonna go ahead, jack it up some more and get the tank connected back. These two wires I will unplug from the secondary pump and relume, but I have to run those wires up to the hop switch in the front. The kit only came to wire up just one pump. The second pump can't run at all times, which is this one, due to issues with the ECM. It says on Tap Performance's website. I'll have to wire these up with a boost reference sensor, and then, you know, once it sees like 3 to 5 pounds of boost, usually the sensor will kick the second pump on. I got the ground hooked up, and you can see everything's clear. The wiring actually runs through this way, so I'm actually gonna run it up the frame well with the rest of that wiring and whatever goes up that way, straight up to the regulator, and then this wiring will go straight to the battery or fuse box area. And then we got the wires for the hob switch right here. I'm just gonna run them up to the front, get the length that I need, and then I'll cut and loom this wiring up so it won't stay red and black like this, I promise. All right, we got the fuel filter mounted. I actually had to add a little extra rubber piece because this clamp was just a little too big, but now it works perfect. Got the arrow just barely being exposed so we know which side the flow is. Regulator mounted. It's gonna sit up against the firewall on the driver's side. Feed line's gonna come into here, dash 10, and then it's gonna go dash 8 out to the fuel rail, and then this will be the dash 8 return back to the tank. Let's get it. That's where we're gonna mount the fuel filter, the inline filter. I already drilled both of my holes there. Loosen this up a little bit. A little bit more. Oh, I gotta use both of my hands. Let me get this one put in. All right, we got both of them in place. Let's go ahead and get the fuel filter mounted in position so we can measure the hose and cut the length. Looks like that's where the fuel filter is gonna sit. Got both bolts in place. They're not fully tightened down, but just mocking it because I'll have to pull it back down to tighten all the fittings up on there. But we're gonna go ahead and mark the hose about here. And then we're gonna get this fitting installed on that hose and throw a clamp on it. We got the main line running over. Got this all tightened up. Got a hose clamp on there. So now we'll mark this rest of this hose to length, and then we'll cut it, add the fitting with our tool there, get it back on. All right, got all the lines ran. Everything bolted up, top and bottom. And then have the lines running from the tank. Just where it touches here, I'm just gonna put a little bit of heat wrap around here, stop it from chafing. And then you see we got the hoses just running over here on the ground. So now that we got everything to length, got everything tightened down, both sides of the pump tightened all the way up, both of the fittings all the way in, everything on the tank good, ground good. We'll go ahead now, lower the truck down and get all this tied up to where it needs to go in the engine bay. Looks like the best place for the fuel pressure regulator. Already got one time cert in place, drilled the hole for the other one. So let's go ahead, get that installed in the firewall, and then we'll start attaching the lines to here. I'm actually gonna run a 45 off of here and dip back behind the brake booster, and then we'll run from the supercharger all the way over this way, make one feed line. Got both bolts in, still a little loose. I didn't tighten it all the way down, just getting everything mocked up. So now I'm going to measure the length of where I need the hose. I'm gonna mark it, and then I'll pull the hose back down on the bottom, go back up in the air, or I may even be able to do it in the engine bay. The main feed line ran. I'm gonna go ahead and get that back behind. We already got the return, as you can see on there. Like that, we got the feed and the return. So now we just need the 45-degree angle here, but we'll actually run that line after the engine's in. I'll have it attached to the back of the supercharger right here, and the line will run straight across the back. So for now, we'll leave that one open. I ordered a 45 degree, so that'll be coming in tomorrow or the next day. Just waiting on the lifters to come in for the engine so we can start getting everything put together and get it dropped in the truck. Back on the Ram, we got the Hellcat oil pan off. We got the main stud out. I'm gonna torque the original bolt back in. I actually have to put that one in a different place for the rear sump style pan. So if you're swapping one of these trucks, their rear sump oil pans, you have to put the rear sump on because it'll hit the electronic power steering rack. So the lifters finally came in and the head gaskets, so we're gonna assemble the rest of the engine and get this thing dropped in. Some Cometic head gaskets, ARP, crankshaft bolt, and then I got the lifters soaking in some 040 right now. So while I fix the oil pan issue and get the original oil pan cleaned up from the engine that was blown up, you can see all the material. This is from the engine that blew up, so we'll get this pan cleaned up. We gotta get all this silicone off. We had to actually modify this pan to make it fit with the timing cover. All right, we got the pickup on, we got the oil pump on, we got everything torqued down, Loctite on the oil pump pickup tube, bolt and nut. And gotta use silicone in the front, unfortunately, because it's missing. This pan's not designed to match up with the Hellcat timing cover, so it's missing a couple of bolt holes. Last time it didn't leak that way. I'm not a big fan of using silicone, only in the four corners where it's supposed to go, but on this setup, I have no choice if I don't want it to leak. So let's go ahead now. We're gonna get the ARP head bolts put in, get the head gaskets on, get these heads torqued down, get the lifters in. Got the lifters in on both sides. Let's go ahead and get all the ARP head bolts installed. All right, we got both studs in. Let's get the gaskets on and get the heads rested on. Let's get these babies torqued down. Got them Cometic gaskets. Try to bring the boost down, save these pistons as much as we can. Let's get these on. Go ahead and get the heads put on. All right, we got all the heads rested on there. Let's go ahead and get all the ARP washers and nuts torqued down. All right, all the head bolts are torqued down. Starting to get some of the push rods put in on both sides so we can get the rocker arm assembly installed and get that torqued to spec. And then we'll drop the engine in the truck. Got the rocker assemblies on both sides. All the push rods are in the buckets. Triple check both sides just to make sure they're resting in there properly, not hanging halfway out. So we'll go ahead now, get the headers put on. We'll tape up the intake manifold and get this engine dropped in. The headers on both sides. Let's go ahead and get the truck pushed into this bay. All right, we got the truck pushed in. Got the motor ready to drop in, so we're gonna get the engine bay prepped, get all the wiring and everything out of our way, make sure the transmission's all the way up, and get this engine dropped in this beast. Let's get it. All right, engine's going in. The headers are fighting me a little bit, but we're getting it there. Almost in. Let's keep going. Got the engine laid in there. So we're gonna go ahead, remove the chain. And then one thing I'm gonna try, he's got some Hellcat valve covers. I'm gonna test fit it on this side before I move any further, just since everything's so open. I'm gonna just test fit it and make sure they fit before I get any further, just in case I have to modify anything. It'll at least be easy to do while the engine and the blower and everything is off. So I'm gonna just test fit that. We're gonna go up in the air, get all the converter bolts in, make sure nothing's locked up on the engine to transmission side for spacing, and then we'll continue putting everything together. All right, so this valve cover is supposed to be on this side. This valve cover is supposed to be over here, but you see where the oil fill is? Right in the way of the brake booster. So I'm gonna attempt to run it this way. I don't know with the way that the blower is. I think this needs to be over here for it to clear, but it looks like it has the same amount of space back here. So honestly, they fit. You'll have to fill it from the passenger side, and then we'll have to extend the catch can line from here and run it over on both sides. So it's going to be a bit of a task, but we'll get it figured out. But just so you guys can see, the Hellcat valve covers do fit in the vehicle. You just have to swap sides due to that right there. I had the oil fill over there and I'm like, shit, it's not gonna work. I guess I jinxed myself because I cannot get the motor and trans to meet together. So instead of pulling the engine back up and out, I'm finna just pull this transmission out. This is that stuff that you deal with when you're doing performance. So I'm gonna get this transmission pulled back out of the way so I can figure out what's going on with the converter spacing or whatever. I mean, the converter is flush all the way in the back of the transmission, so, but the top half of the trans almost connects together, but the lower half is like forcing and locking up the engine. So back to the drawing board.